Hi guys, welcome to our second day of our webinar. Uh, don't forget, the attendance list will be in the chat and write your questions in the chat too. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Tonight we want to say thank you to all of our sponsors who made this event possible. So first of all, we want to say thank you to all of the gold sponsors, Wizard and Aeroplug Lavras. And furthermore, we want to say thank you so much our silver sponsors, Say Yes, for all your belief in our vision, and thank you so much for all of your contributions.
Today we will have Elizabeth. She's agronomist from UFLA and she studied for a master in UFLA too. Thank you, Elizabeth. If you want to start your presentation, feel free. She had some problem with the internet, guys, so wait.
Hi everyone, sorry for the delay. My computer literally shut off all the internet windows, but we're back and I'm gonna start. So my name is Elizabeth. I'm a master's student at phytotechnics, and Wait a minute. Sorry, my Canva was loading, and but here we go. And so, as I was saying, my name is Elizabeth. I'm a master's student in video techniques at UFLA. And to begin with it, I want to thank Professor Raquel for inviting me to this event. And I also want to apologize if my English fails. I didn't know it was actually a event. I thought it was gonna be just a reunion with you guys, but I'm really happy to be here. And so let's go. I'm gonna talk about agro energy and how it is a way towards a clean energy matrix. And so to start, the first thing I wanna ask you and ask you guys to think about is, what is sustainability? It's actually not so simple. People may think it is a simple thing, but it is something that demands a work in group between environment, society, and economy. It's not just about the environment. So at this point, we, as agronomists and future agronomists, should all know that sustainability is not only about keeping the nature healthy and stuff. It's also about keeping a society healthy and keeping the economy healthy too. So sustainability is about making money without destroying the environment, basically, and actually without destroying the world. But jokes aside, sustainability is not only about keeping your house, the nature, né? Clean and organized. It's about making people inside the house comfortable, secure, and also fed. And in the world we live in, unfortunately, we do need to make sure that we have money. So we need to make sure that the activities in our house are not only nice and healthy, and I talk about house like the environment is our house, and so it's we need to also keep enough food in this house, to feed all the people that live in the house. And the world is our house, and we need to keep our soils, our air, our water health. So we need to act thinking more about the environment at this point. But there is no sense at all if we keep the environment all healthy and forget about the people living inside the house. People need to be fed, people need to have money, people need also to have a nice air to breathe, and etc. So people need jobs, people need food, people need electricity, people need technology, people need the world to keep functioning. And the way we're going nowadays seems to be down, and the world seems to be collapsing, and there is not much we can do to reverse it immediately, but we do need to do something, and we need to start thinking more about how to keep this cycle going on. And just to contextualize, since the world population is growing, as you can see in this relatory by ONU in 2015, it was expected the world to grow 32% from 2015 until 2050, and a growth of 53% until 2100. And it is expected until then that we have the population of 11.2 billion people in the world, which will lead us to a growth on the demand for energy, and the global demand for energy is expected to almost double. And so the CO2 emissions is expected to grow in 80%. And here, talking about the energy matrix of the world, we have that it is compounded mostly by petroleum and oil products and mineral coal as well as natural gas. And these three sources, they are not renewable. We only have a account of 20% of the world energy that comes from renewable sources, such as biomass, such as hydraulic energy, nuclear energy, and other. Since and this other includes the sun energy, includes wind and geothermal energy. So only 20% of the energy of the world comes from renewable sources. We do need to change this scenario, and you're gonna understand why more. And here in Brazil, differently from the world, the most almost not the most, but a really high percentage of the energy sources we have are from renewable sources, especially from sugarcane biomass. It is used to produce electric energy, it is used to produce ethanol and other types of energy. Actually, sugarcane is a really sustainable crop, even though some people may think not. But I think that this some people doesn't know much. So we need to understand a little bit more about what we have, the potential we have here in Brazil. And so let's go. The renewable sources represents 47.5% of our demand on energy, and the non-renewable is 52.6%, while the petroleum represents um, the biggest source we have. And it is actually a all these non-renewable sources have the potential to be polluting our environment. And inside the into the demand we have on energy, the transport industry sectors, they are the ones that demand the most part of the energy. 65% of the demand comes from the industry and the transport. And we can also observe that we had a growth of 2.9% on the demand for all this energy in from 2021 to 2022. So all the sectors had this growth of 2.9%. And so here I beg your pardon for this slide is in Portuguese, but it is actually a image directly from this source. And so let's go now. In the last year, we had an increase of 5% when compared to 2021 on the participation of energetic sources in transportation, where the diesel oil is the most used fuel, fuel, especially when it comes to transport of passengers, such as buses and etc. So, talking about energy that comes from renewable sources in the transport sector, we have the use of 4.6% of biodiesel. and it is really a low percentage compared when we talking about common diesel, which is represented by 44.6%, which represents 44.6% of the demand for energy in our transport sector. And so uh, the use of ethanol is like 16.9%, and together with the biodiesel, that they both represent the renewable sources for energy, and it is only 21.5% of the energy consumption when we're talking about transport. And so it is really necessary that we change the scenario. We need to be using more biodiesel. For those who doesn't know, we have the Brazil, here in Brazil, we have the project of getting higher percentages of biodiesel mixtured to the common diesel through the years. So the objective is to have a mixture of diesel oil with biodiesel to make it more sustainable. And I'm gonna talk more about it in the other slides, but keep it in mind. And so about carbon emissions, we can see here the CO2 emissions in 1,000 kilometers that we go. And gasoline is the fuel that have the biggest emissions of CO2. When we see here, it's around 130. um, it is actually in tons, if I remember well. It is with the symbol here is wrong. It is tons. So let's go. And as you can see, I was saying the B7, B20 here on diesel represents the percentage of the mixture of biodiesel on the diesel oil. As you can see, when we have 7% of biodiesel on the mixture, we have a higher emission of CO2 when we compare to a higher percentage of biodiesel in this mixture. And as you can see, only the biodiesel is really lower, much lower when compared to diesel, and also when compared to ethanol, that comes from renewable sources too. So about fossil fuels, we have a high dependence on the use of petroleum and its derivatives, and which reflects a high instability on the international market, as it isn't something renewable, right? And as well, we have a low availability of natural reserves from these fossil fuels. And it is a cartoon here where we have two birds, and one bird is soaked on oil, and the other one is asking, "Are you mourning?" And no, it is just petroleum. So this is not the future we want, right? And actually, it is not the future, it's already our present, and it is already happening. We are already losing our environment. Like we are having more degraded soils because of the climate changes. We are already seeing our fishes, our turtles, our ocean animals dying from the pollution, and we are experiencing such. It is already so warm today. We had a heat wave, and the heat waves are getting warmer through the years. We are experiencing what is expected to be the worst El Nino in the history of humanity. So this is not the future we want, and it is only gonna get worse. So we need to do something about it. And what can you do, right? What do we need to do, right? We need to change the energetic scenario we have, and we need to use more biofuels as energy. And we can only need, actually, from the biofuels, we can only need plants and soils and the sun, and it is something renewable, something good for the population, and it is more likely compared when the future we want. But to get it, we need to act now. I think actually we're a little late to start acting, but there is never enough time, right? And so, what are biofuels, right? Biofuels are renewable biomass derivatives that can partially or completely replace petroleum and natural gas derived fuels in combustion engines or other forms of power generation. This is the definition from our National Petroleum Asso- uh, Asso- ANP, Associação Nacional de Petróleo. And here, talking about the biofuels, the most known, at least, are ethanol and biodiesel. Ethanol can be obtained from sugarcane, and actually, in Brazil, our ethanol is majority is in its majority produced from sugarcane, and it gives us the place as the biggest producers of sugarcane in the world, and gives us also the second place as the biggest producers as of ethanol, and we're only behind United States, where they use more corn for ethanol production. And we also have ethanol produced from beet. So it has different sources in different regions. So in Brazil here, it is represented more by the sugarcane. And about biodiesel, it is obtained through a process named transesterification, where you can transform the oil from oilseed plants to this fuel, né? Where we can get the biodiesel from plants, and we can also get it from animal fats, and also from fats that are discarded from our homes, our industries. We can reuse it, and it is also a source of biodiesel. And so the biodiesel has the potential to reduce corrosion in the engines, as well as increases the lubricity of, of it. And comparing with petroleum-based fuels, its emission of particulates is also lower. And here is just to show you guys the principal and the biggest producers, right? And what, as you can see, in Asia, in the region of Asia and Pacific, it is the where we have the most part of it, and also we have a high percentage of the production made or compounded by the Americas. And here we can see the difference between uh, in 10 years from 2009 to 2019 that we had a increase of ethanol production, especially on North America and actually especially in all Americas. And differently in the rest of the world, we had a bigger growth on the use of renewable on the biodiesel. Actually, it is about ethanol. The green is ethanol, and the orange is biodiesel. And we can see a different scenario. It is probably because ethanol comes from plants that we have more, like the sugar cane. It is a plants that have more, how can I say, it develops better in our region because we have the tropical climate, right? Compared when you compare to Europe, for example. So we have the climate that can promote its use, and maybe that's some reason why we had a much more significant growth on the ethanol production when we compare to biodiesel. And so let's go to talk about more about biofuels. And actually it should be biodiesel here, not biofuels, but as you can see here, I'm showing the potential oilseed plants for biodiesel production. And transesterification is the process where you can convert oil to biodiesel. And here we have the soybean. Actually is the most used plant for production of biodiesel. And these others are plants with potential for the biodiesel production, but they are not so explored as the soybean. But we have canola, which is a plant that I work with. And we have forage turnip. For those who doesn't know, in Portuguese, it is nabo forrageiro. It is it is a it has the potential of producing 530 liters of oil per hectare. And actually we have here in canola, we have the best rate of the best production, okay? And sunflower, we also have peanut and corn. And they are all plants that we can potentially use for the production of biodiesel. And the biodiesel has the potential of mitigating the global warming, helping lower the emissions of CO2. And as you can see here, a bus using biodiesel with 20% of biodiesel in the mixture has the potential to lower 44,000 liters of diesel consumption per year, and lowering the emissions of CO2 in 18 tons per bus per year. So imagine how many buses we have through the country, right? So it has the potential to lower to have it has a high potential of lowering our CO2 emissions, and it is equivalent to planting 132 trees per year. And I'll, where I found this information, I didn't actually note if it is per bus, but I think it is per bus. So if we had, I don't know, 100 buses in the country, we would be planting it would be like planting lots of trees. And compare when we use B30 or 30% of biodiesel in the mixture, we have the potential. When we're talking about tractors, right? Only tractors, not all the cars in the country. We're talking about only tractors. We have the potential to lower 31 tons of CO2 per tractor per year, and it is like planting 227 trees. And the more impressive yet is when we're talking about harvesters, and we have the potential to lower in 93 tons of CO2 per harvester per year, which which is like planting 680 trees. So just just getting a higher percentage of biodiesel in the mixture, not using 100% of biodiesel, right? It is we have a huge lower we had a huge diminution on reduction on the CO2 emissions. And imagine if we were using 100% biodiesel. It isn't possible yet because we need to change the engines and the systems of the cars and tractors and airplanes and etc. We still can't use a B100, but we can get these percentages higher and higher through the years, and it is something really good for the environment. And about the challenges, okay, because it is really easy to talk about let's use biofuels, but we do have challenges, and we are here to talk about challenges, right? So the challenges we have, I'm not gonna say the biggest challenges we have because there are so many of them that we can't actually say some are more or less important than the other problems. But my master's research is about it, and I am focusing in these two challenges we have. And so the first one is salinity in soils and also flower abortion due to high temperatures. Since we're talking about plants that produces grains, okay, it's oil seed plants, and we need the flowers to go on, okay. We can't have flower abortion, because if we have flower abortion, we're losing our seeds, we're losing our product specifically. and and so let's go, these both challenges, they are related to climate changes. And so just to contextualize about salinity in soils, it is a problem that can happen in anywhere in the whole world, but it is more commonly encountered on semi-arid and arid regions, and it can lower our soil fertility. And since the salts can interact with the nutrients present in the soil, and it is increasing the salinity. It is increasing at a really high rate. It is in 2018, a study showed that the salinity areas are growing in a rate of 2 million hectares by year. And so it is really fast. And it is estimated that the today more than 20% of the cultivated areas, represented by 45 million hectares, are are experiencing salinity in the soils. And is expected that if we keep this rate, we will have 50% of the world's arable land affected by salinity. And the salinity, the problem of salinity are that they stimulate the formation of growths that are reactive oxygen species that can lead to degradation of photosynthetic pigments, lipids, amino acids in plant tissues, leading to the death of these plants and or lowering really to a really lowering the production. Okay, and so talking about flower abortion in canola. I'm talking specifically about canola because it's the subject of my study. And so for those who doesn't know, canola is a acronym to Canadian oil low acid, which is the rapeseed or colza in Portuguese. Some people actually it is funny because some people think canola doesn't exist. It isn't even a real plant. I've already heard people saying it and saying that this we shouldn't consume the oil because for those who doesn't know, we have canola oil on the market and it is a really healthy oil for us to for eating. It is it is used in kitchen and it is a oil that is rich in nutrients that are important for us. And so let's talk more about here about the plant. And it is a plant, the canola. It is original from places with lower temperatures, and it is going through a process named tropicalization here in Brazil, which is which is taking this plant and trying to create new technologies to make it more plantable in the center west and northeast of Brazil, and where we have higher temperatures. And a problem we have in these regions is that the temperature when it's over 29.5 Celsius degrees during floration, it reduces the production. And actually, the average temperature limit that canola can resist is 27 Celsius degrees. And in higher temperatures, we have the lowering of the number of flower in siliques. We have the loss on weight and loss on number of seeds per silique. For those who doesn't know, silique is the name for the fruit of the canola, where are the seeds, and the seeds are what we use to produce the oil. So it is really challenging that we find a way to overcome these losses when we're talking about higher temperatures such as in Brazil. And a another plant very similar to canola that is named like they named it as the Cerrado canola for Cerrado, and it is carinata, which is a Brassica carinata. It has the potential to grow in higher temperatures, and actually, it is in fact the Cerrado canola. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it, and so let's go. And what can we do to overcome these challenges, and what we can do as researchers and students, agronomy students, and me as a master's student is research. And we I'm testing these two biostimulants Professor Maria Fernanda talked a little about it yesterday. So yeah, we're testing biostimulants on the canola, carinata, and and roadster, especially on sugarcane roadster. It is a product that is destined to sugarcane, especially specifically, and the other product is trichoderma meal, and I'm gonna explain how they act. And here is about the trichoderma meal. It is a product based on Trichoderma arzianum extracted, that is a fungi, and the way of action for trichoderma meal is through micro microparasitism, competition, and antibiosis, where basically the trichoderma can parasite phytopathogenic fungi and also can compete with other phytopathogens for food and space. And it also gives to the plants more strength so they can go through diversities through the fortification of the plant. And so it stimulates a higher potential of this plant to it's like it has more tolerance to stresses. And the other product, Roadster, is based on a marine algae extracted from Ascophyllum nodosum, and it stimulates a better development by making the plants stronger and can promote a tolerance for abiotic stresses. And it is specifically destined for the use in sugarcane crop. So I'm testing these both products on sugarcane to see which doses are better and to see if it really has some effect on the plants. Like I said, the Holster product is destined specifically to sugarcane, but I'm testing it also on canola and carinata for it has the potential to fortify plants in general. And here I'm gonna talk really quick about the experiment I am testing. Okay, and this one actually is already finished, but the results aren't disclosed yet. So I'm not gonna go really deep into the subject. So just to contextualize here, we were testing the effect of these bioproducts on the development of sugarcane seedlings. And so I've applied 4 different concentrations of roadster and one dose of trichoderma, and I've compared the effect of them on the production of these seedlings by immersing the sugarcane stalks into these mixtures for 1 minute and before planting. And just to tell you guys, it did have significant effect in the doses of 2 milliliters and 5 milliliters per hectare had the greater results where the plants developed more biomass under these doses. But as I said, the results aren't disclosed yet. And another experiment that is ongoing, I didn't finish it yet, so I have no idea. Actually, I have some idea because I already have made one evaluation of it. So it seems to be having significant effect, but I didn't have the statistics yet to say, to affirm it does have some effect, but it seems to be having effect. So here I've tested different doses in different mixtures of the trichoderma meal and holster. As you can see here, we have 3 colors of these things. where I've tested roadster, trickle meal, and a mixture of both of them, in different dosages. It was like 16 different dosages, and and I'm really excited to. I'm really anxious actually to know how the result was, but so let's go. Actually, it is, just to contextualize, it is pre-sprouted sugarcane seedlings. They are obtained through tissue culture, and so it is, just to say. And here are the experiments on canola, and I've applied the same dosages from the other experiments, and I'm testing it on the flower retention in canola to see if it promotes the flower retention, because we, as I said before, we have this huge problem with flower flower retention in canola. So actually, to be honest with you guys, the canola really really has so much problems on high temperatures that they died like 5 times. I had to plant my experiment 5 times, and I gave up, and I'm working only with carinata. As I said, the carinata is indeed the canola for the cerrado, and it is actually supporting the heat wave we had, but it isn't flowering yet. So I don't know if this project has much future, but it is really something necessary for us that we develop new technologies, right? So keep going, okay? And here are some references I used on my presentation. And before I finish it, I wanna present for those, specifically for those who are still on graduation. I wanna present you guys these two disciplines that are both the subject of my study, and it is taught by Professor Guilherme Vieira Pimentel. There are culturas. I forgot some letters, but come on. Culturas de potencial agroenergético e cultura da cana-de-açúcar. They are both disciplines that I recommend you guys, if you have the interest on biofuels. I recommend you to do both of them. And Professor Guilherme Vieira Pimentel is my orientador. I have no idea which is the right word in English for it, but he has a really brilliant mind, and he has so many ideas. I recommend you all guys that you get to know him, and you get to take these classes. And just to acknowledgement, I want to thank the program of phytotechnia, and I want to thank the two groups I participate, that are Agroenergia and Mecana. And I want to invite you all, those who have the interest in learning more about the subject. I want to invite you all for getting to know these two groups. And I want to thank CAPES and UFLA and the agronomy department of UFLA. And basically, that's it. The point of this presentation was to show you guys a little bit more about the agroenergia and about the Necana activities. And I hope you guys are interested, and that it was something that you could be learning. And I want to thank you all, and I want to thank the Jessia and Professor Raquel for inviting me. If you guys want to keep in touch with me to know the results of my research, you can You can be friends with me on LinkedIn, and that's all. Thank you, guys. If you have any
Thank you
questions.
so Thank you so much, Elizabeth. If you guys have any question, you can ask. I'm sure everybody learned a lot with your lecture. It was really, really, really great. Thank you so much. I think you can see the questions in the side of your screen.
Mm, yeah.
The,
So mm, I think it is loading, or people are still sending them, but just about the kilometers in that slide, it wasn't kilometers that I was. It was right wrong. It wasn't kilometers. It was probably tons of CO2. And but let's go to the questions. Why did you choose to use those biostimulants? Okay, so about the Roadster, as I said, it is a product that is sold specifically to sugarcane. And actually, I didn't choose the product; the product chose me. We have this partnership with Copert, and a ex-member from Necana works there, and she was like, oh, it is interesting that we tested this product for, because it is sold as a product that can fortify the plants against abiotic stresses, but they actually doesn't know which abiotic stresses it can be it can be helpful. So basically this, but I about the trichoderma, it is a product that is already being used in many cultures and many crops, and we've decided to test it in canola and in sugarcane. And let's see the other question. Do you think on the future we will have less biodiesel from soybeans and more from canola, for example? And what do you think about perennial crops to produce biodiesel? Okay, so about perennial crops to produce biodiesel, if I remember well, the I don't remember actually the name, but dendê, óleo de dendê, it is a palm tree oil. It is the most used for producing biodiesel. So it is possible. We have also the Moringa oleifera. I don't know the names in English. And we have also we have some palm trees that produces oil, so it is really possible. And if I think we have lost less biodiesel from soybeans, I think we need less biodiesel from soybeans and more from canola, for example. I think we need to diversify the plants we use, the crops we use, because we need we need to make crop rotation, for example, and the crop rotation helps a lot on recovering the soils and preventing attacks from plagues and diseases. So we do need less biodiesel from soybeans because we have this monoculture that need to rotate with other plants to recover the soils. We need different families, different botanical families, because different botanical families have different plagues, different diseases. So if we keep the area where you plant soil, if you leave it without where you plant soybean, okay? If we have this area that we plant only soybean, it will be having a much higher pressure for plagues and pests, and so we do need to diversify. And I hope I answered your question. And so let's go to the next one. You show us how diverse the choice of plants used for bio can be. What do you normally look for in a plant for the use? In the plants we used for biodiesel production, we look for higher percentages of oil, so oil seed plants with higher percentages of oil are gonna potentially produce more biodiesel. So basically this. And also a lower relation of CN, carbon and nitrogen. We look for a better relation on it. And I think that was no. There is another question. Without doubt, biodiesel is very environmentally friendly, despite energy efficiency debates. Yet, CO2 footprint isn't significant as we produce this fuel. I don't know if I understood well your question, but the CO2 footprint is significant. It is indeed, but as I said, right now we have a lower relation to carbon and nitrogen, so we need less. These plants actually absorb more carbon to produce nitrogen. I actually don't understand really well to explain you this, but I do know it is about the carbon and nitrogen relation. And I think it was, it has another question here. Wait a minute. I would like to know what are the biggest challenges faced in promoting sustainable agriculture practices and transitioning to cleaner energy sources. It is, I am pretty sure that the biggest challenge is to change the mind of the people. People doesn't care really about sustainability. People care about more of the sustainability of their pockets. People also have this mind where they don't wanna change. People like comfort, so the producers, they fear if they produce something different that they might lose it, and that they might lose money. So it is it is really about it is really about divulgating more the information and changing the minds of people so they know more the importance of it. So, and I think, of course, there are public policies that can help it. And I didn't say in the presentation, but we have the national program of, I actually forgot the whole name, but it is a program, a public policy that promotes the increase on the biodiesel mixture with the diesel, and it also helps the producers to produce it. They have some benefits if they produce it. I need to look more into it, but from what I know, they have these discounts, and if they produce some, they have a, I forgot the word in English, but they have methods of production. So it is also, I think the policies are actually more important than changing their minds, but we can change their minds through new policies, and that's it. So I think I've answered the questions. If anyone has anything more to say, you can find me on LinkedIn and you can find me on Instagram also.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, again.
Thank you.
And I think that's it. Free to leave if you want to.
Okay, okay.
Thank you
So
so
goodbye,
much.
good night,
Good night.
bye everyone.
So, guys, we're gonna have our 5 minute break. Today it's gonna be just 5 minutes because we had the interference in the internet in the beginning. So, see you in a minute. So, guys, we're already coming back from our little break just today. And first, I want to thank our sponsors, Wizard and Aero Club, Lavras. They are gold. And say yes with the silver. And I want to show you a little video from Wizard. Thank you. And just reminding you to sign our attendance list is in the chat already. Thank you.
Hello guys! Fiquem ligados, a Wizard, maior rede de idiomas de todos os tempos, com mais de 30 anos de mercado, já formou milhões de alunos em todo o mundo. Isso porque oferece uma metodologia exclusiva de ensino, com 2 modalidades por semana, em que o aluno aprende 100 frases por dia e é avaliado diariamente, na fala, audição, leitura e escrita. Nossa escola oferece 2 modalidades de ensino, que podem ser no formato presencial ou online, com horários flexíveis. Bom demais, não é mesmo? Tem mais! Nosso material didático consta de mochila ou pasta exclusiva, acompanhado do assistente pessoal, o SME, com diversos áudios e atividades extras, para que o aluno dê continuidade onde quer. Além disso, a Wizard oferece clubes de conversação e aulas extras, para que os alunos se acostumem a situações reais, monitorias e study hall, para garantia de aprendizagem do idioma. E mais, o aluno pode iniciar o seu curso a qualquer momento, porque a excelência da Wizard está primeiramente no atendimento de qualidade e respeito ao público. Portanto, inglês, para você falar, entender e nunca mais esquecer, só a Wizard tem. So, come to Wizard!
A Wizard, maior rede de idiomas do mundo, conta com uma metodologia revolucionária que tem por objetivo estimular a aprendizagem do aluno por meio do aprimoramento de todas as habilidades e o compromisso de não deixar ninguém para trás. Por isso, inglês para falar, entender e nunca mais esquecer só tem um nome: Wizard. Wizard, você bilíngue. Em Lavras, na rua Doutor João Silva Pena, 54 Centro. Telefone 3821-2601.
So now we are glad to announce that the lecturer from Trent and Curry they are from the Sustainable Solutions from Syngenta, and we're so glad to have them here.
Hey,
Feel
good
free
evening.
to open your lecture, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having us. Let's see if I can present here. If I have the ability to do that. Computer. So it looks like I can share my screen. Here we go. And we'll make this into presentation mode. Hopefully that looks correct to everybody.
Looks good to me.
Is that okay? Awesome.
Yeah, it's fine. Everybody see.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Gabriela, for inviting Corey and I to speak today. We're excited to present to the study group at the university. So Corey and I prepared a few things for you today to talk around your topic of challenges of sustainability in the 21st century. But before we dive into that, it might be good just to give you a quick introduction of who Corey and I are. So I guess I'll get started. My name is Trent Wimmer. I live in the Minneapolis, Minnesota part of the United States. I have been working with Syngenta for over 25 years. So I actually started in seeds research and development way back in 1998 and did sales and marketing for that seed group as well. Eventually did some crop protection marketing for Syngenta in different parts of the United States. And for the last 6 seasons, I've been on our North American Sustainable and Responsible Business team. And my current title with the Sustainable and Responsible Business team in North America is Key Account Manager. So what does that mean? Our key account managers work with downstream partners. That's within the value chain of food or value chains of energy. And we help connect processors, mills, consumer packaged goods companies back to farmers to give those consumer packaged goods companies an understanding of what those farmers are doing on their fields, on their farms, and how they produce their crops. So happy to be here. I'll pass it over to Corey so he can introduce himself.
Sure. Thanks, Trent. So Corey McCarn, I'm based out of the Murray, Kentucky area, and I've been with Syngenta for 7 years now. I started in field sales with our company and working with our growers on a digital product offering on the crop protection side of the business, and transitioned into looking at new technologies and piloting those in the field to try and bring insights to our growers and farmers here in the US. And then worked my way over onto the Sustainable Responsible Business team here with Trent as a senior sustainability lead. So a lot of what my day-to-day is interfacing with growers, networking with them, and trying to help them translate what they're doing in the field and the actions and steps they've taken to be more sustainable on their farms, and help them provide that message to their downstream partners and really the entire distribution network and channel that they are a part of. So Trent, I'll pass it back to you for that first slide there.
Sure. So that's Corey and myself. I'm not sure if Corey mentioned it. He's from Kentucky, the state of Kentucky. And with me, originally from Nebraska, Colorado. I apologize for our Midwest accent if we have one, but I can guarantee you it's better than our Portuguese. So we'll stick with this for today. So what Corey and I would like to cover, and I know the topic today is challenges of sustainability in the 21st century, and Syngenta is definitely highly involved in this quest to not only improve agriculture, improve sustainability on the whole for our not only our populations across the globe, but making sure that we have healthy, abundant food and for years to come, as well as making sure we're taking care of the people that are here today. So what we'd like to talk about today is we thought we'd start with just a high-level view of who Syngenta is. And then we thought we'd also talk a little bit around some of the challenges that are facing agriculture today. And this is really a global view that we'll cover of the different things that agriculture is facing and how farmers can participate and play an active role in the future of sustainability. And then we're going to get in a little bit of something we call our good growth plan. So Syngenta has their sustainability commitments. They call it the good growth plan. And we'll dig into not only how it started, but where we are today, because really it's our leading tool in our initiative to how we see agriculture, not only facing these challenges of sustainability, but being an active partner as we move to these solutions in a future of healthy food. And so how we're going to tackle this today is, as I talk, Corey has some insights. He'll jump in as he sees fit, but that's sort of how we'll walk through the presentation today. So first, it'd be good to start with who is Syngenta. I'm assuming some of the people on the call already know, but it's good just to ground ourselves together. As Syngenta is a multinational corporation, they're active in all 4 regions of the earth, including very active in the Brazilian market. But when we look at Syngenta as a whole, we're the market leader in crop protection products. We also have a strong third position in seeds, and that's seeds for not only field crops, but it's also flowers, landscaping, plants, these types of things, fruits and vegetables. So a strong number 3 position. And we also have a really strong we have a strong tenure, I should say, to our digital ag solutions. It's been around for actually over 20 years now. And that's actually one of the pieces that Corey and I connect to quite closely is our digital ag, because this is how we measure farms and farmers with their field level and farm level decisions to help us measure farming practices, farming decisions for downstream partners. Syngenta is actually made up of 4 groups today. We call it the Syngenta Group, 2 of which are who Corey and I tend to touch more often in North America. The first one is Syngenta Crop Protection, which is, like I mentioned, a global leader. Our main focus there is integrated pest management, helping farmers put down the least amount to get the most control over troublesome weeds, fungus, and other insect pests. But we're also very closely tied to our seed business. Like I mentioned, because of our sustainability connection, these are the 2 businesses that we tend to touch the most. But Syngenta is also made up of 2 other business units. One is called Adama. Adama is another crop protection business that Syngenta owns, and they operate separately, as well as Syngenta China, which is where Syngenta brings an integrated approach in that country solely. So the 4 groups are what makes up Syngenta. And you can see below, we've got a list of different things. People always think of us as an inputs company, so seed and chemical first, but we're not just seeds and chemical. We're also a strong presence in sustainability. Regenerative ag is a fast moving and growing space that Syngenta is very active in making sure that not only farmers are profitable today, but we make sure that they're profitable in the future, and at the same time protecting their fields for future generations. Anything to add there, Corey?
One thing is just unpacking the term sustainability. To Trent's point, a lot of the time people get wrapped up in thinking sustainability is just about being green or environmental pieces, but realistically, every farmer is trying to be more sustainable because they are working for future generations. So everything they do on that farm is to preserve the life of that farm, improve and make things better for coming generations. And that's really the heart of what sustainability is being able to sustain the hard times, sustain changes, sustain different adaptations that have to be made to keep up with the marketplace and keep up with their crop to be able to provide in the future.
So we thought we'd start off with some high-level challenges. And some of these probably will not be a surprise, but it's good to call out because it helps keep us focused on the why of what we do. So one of the biggest challenges today is our growing human population. And I think I don't know if you don't know, depends on who's keeping track and who's counting, but in the recent weeks, we've just surpassed 8 billion people in the world. And to ground us in why that's interesting is if you go back to roughly 1800, so in 1800, the year 1800, humans had a population of roughly 1 billion, okay? 1800 was only, 220 years ago? So in 1800, it was 1 billion. In 1921, it doubled. So in 1921, it turned to 2 billion. And I know the slide here shows the last 70 years, we've added 5 billion people, but since 2021, we've actually added 6 billion we're seeing some amazing growth in the human population. And there's a number of reasons we could get into why that is. Part of it's healthy food, better medicines and whatnot. But it's a big number. And the projection is in the next 30 years, we will see an additional 2 billion people join the cozy 8 billion that we already have on the planet. That's the big watch out here is we don't have an abundance of new farmland that we can go to grow food for this 2 billion more people. We've had to learn to get very innovative with agriculture in the last 100 years to assure that we could feed the ones that are here today. But we will need more food. We can't get more land. And this is definitely creating not only some of our opportunities, but it's definitely some of the bigger challenge. It's one of the biggest challenges that we fight with agriculture.
Yeah, there's constantly more and more challenges that growers are facing, whether that's from weed resistance or disease resistance and the impacts that have, as well as the fact that it's been, oh goodness, Trent, correct me if I'm wrong here, at least a decade since there's been a novel mode of action for herbicides. So
Yeah.
when you think about trying to overlap residual or be good stewards for our herbicide portfolio or really any herbicide on the market, it's more and more difficult to try and take care of these problem weed species. And when you take that in context with the fact that there is really not that much more tillable acres on this planet that we can tap into that we haven't before, the maximization that we need to focus on the potential of each of the acres that we're already planting and already working as ground is what we need to focus on and what we need to improve.
So we wanted to call out a handful of other key challenges that agriculture is facing that we're trying to work through today, because we see that these problems aren't going away. They're only becoming not so much exasperated, but they are becoming, we need to be cognizant of how agriculture plays within these other issues. So these numbers may be known to you or not, but of all the fresh water that is available in the world, 70% of it is used in the agricultural space. So as the population grows, the need for water in other areas clearly is going to grow as well. And we need to make sure we're maximizing the efficiency of the water that we are putting on the field to get the most yield, the most production with the least amount of use to save it for other means. 33% of the Earth's land is actually being lost due to degraded soils. So as fields are overused, maybe the rotation's been quite poor, and the farmers lost the ability to make a profitable yield off of those fields. Those fields have been moved on to other things. So how can we not only keep fields from becoming so degraded they're unusable, but also be innovative to bring new products, new means to bring that soil back to life and make it productive again. And then the last one, which we'll probably spend a lot more time here at the end of this presentation talking about, is carbon. So when we say carbon, we're talking carbon dioxide and the equivalents of different gases thereof. And of that, 23% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the world come from agriculture. Now, I've seen that number measured higher or lower, but it is a significant piece regardless of who's doing the math. And what's really interesting here is of all the different ways humans can emit carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases, agriculture is one of the unique ones that can actually put the carbon back in the ground. So we'll go into that in a little more detail here shortly. So when it comes to Syngenta, who is Syngenta's key customers? Really, our number one customer are farmers. And the number two customer tends to be anyone that supports those farmers into doing the best they can with what they have where they are. So farmers are not only our key customers, we're also very keen to know that they are in the middle of agriculture's challenges and opportunities facing the world today. So whether we are trying to make them the most efficient and productive as possible to maximize the yield on each acre, we're always, a lot of our products and our new technologies are there targeting them to help them with their business. How can we help support them through pest control and integrated pest management? How can we also make sure that they are good stewards of their land and helping them conserve that land for future generations? I think the one that's been most eye-opening to farmers recently is how much climate change can be not only affected by them, how closely people are watching what farmers are doing to understand the products they make and how they affect the overall process of the value chains these growers participate in. So in the old days, farmers could grow their crop. They would do it in the means that was the most efficient for them and the most profitable. It might not have been the most conservation-minded approach, but they would do, because that wasn't what incentivized them. And they would drop those goods, those bushels, whatever, off at their mill or the originator, whoever it happened to be, and they were done. And they'd go back to start over. Well, today, downstream, people are asking a lot of questions, wanting to know how those bushels are produced. The transparency continues to grow. And so farmers have a lot of work ahead of them, but a lot of opportunity to play a key role in climate change moving forward. Corey, anything to add to that? I sort of ranted.
No worries. I think a lot of this ties into what we mentioned before. Being good stewards of the land, being good stewards of product, as well as how you're managing problems on your farm. It's one of those things. You can have a small problem, handle it the wrong way, either chemically or in how you farm your ground or the practices you do, and it can get away from you. And then from there, trying to track that back or fix things is much more difficult. So a lot of the time when we talk to growers, we're working on being prescriptive and trying to get ahead of issues rather than working on them afterwards. So it's one of those situations where we're just trying to stay ahead of the curve and keep people ahead of the curve with us.
So we'd like to take the next few moments to talk a little bit about Syngenta's sustainability commitments in the marketplace. So before we dive into that too deeply, we would like to cover where we started in this space. So in 2013, Syngenta created what they called their Good Growth Plan. And this was a vision that was a little bit ahead of its time because at the time, none of our peers, meaning other crop protection or seed companies, were willing to go discuss soil or greenhouse gas and understand how ag's piece of that plays together. So in 2013, we created 6 initiatives that we said we want to benchmark and measure against these commitments. And so we were one of our first people to go out and say, we believe in sustainability. We have a role to play, and here is what Syngenta is going to do to not only the customer base but to the world. Well, that's been started in 2013, so we're actually at 10 years now, and in the last year or two, we've actually created a new revamped version of the Good Growth Plan. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So like I mentioned at the very beginning, Syngenta is 4 main business groups. And before that occurred, all those groups tended to fall under just the title of Syngenta. Well, when we switched to Syngenta Group, they wanted to make sure that the Good Growth Plan encompassed all 4 of those business units across the globe. And we also wanted to make sure that we had a very keen target on greenhouse gas emissions because of the need and the opportunity that the agriculture sector brings forward. We also wanted to make sure that we were enhancing and focusing on other things besides yield. So how can we improve biodiversity? How can we improve farmer safety? And this is just isn't in Brazil or in the United States. This was the targets for the worldwide scope. And at the end of the day, it needed to support and resonate with farmers as they fight these same challenges alongside of them. So just to give you a flavor of some of the things we were able to accomplish with our original good growth plan, I won't go through all of these, but I think it is sort of interesting to see how things do improve over time when you decide to put your energy and focus to them. So within the 7 years of 2013 to 2020, when it came to crop production and improving the productivity and the profitability of growers, we were able to measure an 18.8% improvement in land productivity. And that was one of the key ones that we were focused on as far as the first 6. Another one that I know is important to Brazil is land degradation and being able to not only keep us from going for more land, how can we bring more degraded land back into healthy production? And we were able to do that worldwide on 14.1 million hectares of farmland. We also had a target around smallholders and their ability to not only do a better job on their ability to maximize their yields. We wanted to make sure that they had proper safety training and make sure that they had means to markets, etc. And so we were able to reach 26.5 million smallholders. And amongst those 26.5 million smallholders, they were able to improve their land productivity 28.5%, which is almost 10% greater than the overall whole of the broad base of growers we reached worldwide. So the need for them to improve their efficiencies, improve their use of their inputs, clearly reaps benefits as we try to improve the overall whole and make everybody more sustainable. I did mention safe products. Syngenta prides ourselves on the efficiency and effectiveness of the products we provide farmers. And we also want to make sure that they're using them in a safe and appropriate way. So we're very proud of the 42.4 million farm workers worldwide that we're able to train on our products and the labels we're in, where we make sure that not only are they using them properly, they're getting the most maximum effect on their fields when they do use them. At the end of the day, the goal is to know where we were, know where we want to go, and how can we continue to improve our good growth plan to assure that we're supporting agriculture both in a greener and a profitable way. Anything to add, Corey?
Yeah, to jump in on that, it's interesting to note too, when we think about smallholders and farm workers that Syngenta reached out to and tried to provide more information. One of the numbers that's not listed there is all of the outreach done outside of even just the agricultural community. I mean, there were a lot of different, I guess, opportunities for our sales force and our field sales folks to get out to schools, high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, and really teach people about agriculture at a young age to drum up interest and get more people involved. And I think that's what a lot of this is about, right? Is just involvement, and how do we get more people cognizant? How do we get more people active on the farm and doing the right things? And I think that starts with really the next generation and tying them into being interested in farming and not thinking of it as a lesser career or anything like that. Agriculture is the lifeblood and keeps the people healthy. So
So let's dive in a little bit deeper into the challenge around climate change and agriculture's place. And in this slide, we talk about the front line, but this is interesting. And so when we think about greenhouse gas, we call out 23% of the total greenhouse gas emissions worldwide are attributed back to agriculture across the globe. Now, some areas do a better job than others, but 23%, that's almost, depending on, like I said, who's doing the math. If we use the number 23, that is 1/4 of the emissions that are occurring. Well, where are the other emissions at? How we heat our homes, right? So how we heat our homes is a major portion. Manufacturing of the goods that we buy and we use, that's another major portion. Transportation, right? We don't see less planes or less cars, we tend to see more. Another major portion of greenhouse gas emissions. Ag actually falls number 4 or 5 in that list of the biggest emitters of greenhouse gas in a typical situation. But where agriculture is unique is of all those other industries, transportation, manufacturing, residential and commercial homes, agriculture is one of the few, or the only one, that not only has the ability to put carbon back in the soil, it has the ability to put carbon back in the soil at scale. And how does it do that? It's something called photosynthesis, right? The plants, through photosynthesis, are taking the carbon dioxide out of the air, putting it back into the soil, returning to the air oxygen. I mean, that's a very simplified form of how that works. But all the other industries can't do this. And this is also why there's been such a focus from those other places onto agriculture, because they see this as a way to allow other means to occur. So better use of land will obviously help lock more of that carbon in the soil where we can keep it in a safe manner, whether it's in organic matter or otherwise. Our practices can help not only support that, but cut our carbon intensity. And new technologies and business models keep coming forward to help agriculture reduce that greenhouse gas emission number. But really, agriculture has the ability to make a positive impact. And this is why sustainability has come so far in the last 4, 5, 6 years, because of the realization that it's a positive story.
I would say too, with how the carbon market itself is evolving constantly, it's one of the larger aspects that growers seem to be getting excited about. One thing we have to go back to, and I know we keep harping on this, but most growers are already doing things that are sustainable in their operation. When we think about carbon marketing and getting more carbon locked in soil, we're really also talking about informing growers how to tell the story of how they farm. Are you already no-till? Are you considering no-till? Are you doing partial till? There's a lot of questions there and a lot of practices that growers are involved in that really, when we start teasing it out, they're doing better than they think they are in most cases.
We thought it might be interesting to see some sustainability data that we're able to capture a few years back. So this is a Syngenta study, and I've got 2 slides to quickly share with you. But they are both focused in on climate change and the impacts thereof. So we did ask farmers all over the world. We didn't ask all of them, mind you, but I think it was a sizable number, almost 600 growers. And we asked them specifically, what would you say your farm has been impacted to date by climate change? And there, the pie chart on the left side of all the farmers shows that 59% stated that climate change either affected them a great deal or a fair amount, which, it's clearly over half. It's pushing 2/3. I think it's also interesting to note that of that group, only 13%. So only 13% said that they weren't being affected at all. So majority of farmers worldwide see some sort of response on climate change, and some see more than others. If you look on the right-hand side, the horizontal bar chart about markets and farm types, you can see a breakdown of different regions. So here, you can see for Brazil example that over half, 53%, said that they saw a fair amount or high impact of climate change today, and 47% said no or low impact. So it actually fits pretty closely with the overall globe's perception. But we do see two areas that see a broader sense of urgency, and that is in Africa and in India, pushing 3/4 of their farmers saying that their businesses have been impacted. Now, to look a little bit future forward, so looking into the future, a similar question was asked of these producers. Do you think climate change will have a serious effect on your business in the next 5 years? So here we see the two green pie charts on the left. We have a 72% of either very concerned or somewhat concerned in the next 5 years. So that actually bumps over 10% increase from where they are today on the previous slide. And then we also see a decrease in the low or no concern. So even though farmers are seeing it today, not all farmers say they have seen the effects on their business. If we ask them to put their crystal ball out and try to read the future, we're seeing a greater concern across the board when we look at the different markets. I think the two to highlight, which I do think are interesting, especially with Corey and myself living in the United States, the two lowest numbers came from China and the USA, 49 and 54%. So these actually didn't really change if you looked at the previous slide, but when you look across the board in the other markets, we saw them greatly improve. So farmers are moving in a direction of more concern, not less. So knowing this, Syngenta wanted to put its head around how could we improve where we started in 2013 with our sustainability story, but not only be happy with where we were able to make it, we wanted to make sure that we were moving forward to continue positive progress, continue to be a good steward of our industry and the earth, but we wanted to make sure that we are supportive of farmers and how they're going to need to farm, not only tomorrow, but in the coming years and decades to come. So these are our 4. So we went from 6 commitments to 4, and the new 4 are very aligned with farmers and how we can support those farmers to do good. So the first one is around accelerate innovation for farmers and nature. So not only does Syngenta want to continually help them bring their plant potential to life, so to speak, and maximize the farms that they have, we want to make sure we're doing things in the right way to assure that we're hitting the target pest in the proper fashion, in the most timely fashion, and the ones that we're not after, we're also not affecting. And how can we also make sure that farmers are worried about nature, not just above ground, but below ground in the soil biome or on the fringe, on the edge of field areas of their land. The second one is striving for carbon neutral agriculture. So this is a little bit of a change because usually Syngenta doesn't get too engaged with farmers on how they produce, but we do know that we can support them in a number of ways that helps not to improve their conservation and minimize their tillage, and that's through either digital tools or new products that help minimize the need for passes through the field. And this also is a look into our own manufacturing to make sure that even though we don't want to be the ones that promote low or negative carbon actions and responsibilities, but then at the same time do a polluting opposite of that. So we do look closely internally to make sure we're trying to minimize our carbon footprint as well. The third one is helping people stay safe and healthy. This one, it was a strong one from the beginning, and we're trying to continue to carry the momentum forward of making sure people, it's one thing to worry about how they utilize our products directly, but how else can we support regions to make sure their markets are strong and sound and available? How can we make sure they're getting a fair market value for the products and goods that they are producing? This all fits into this commitment. And then the last one, which isn't the least, if in my mind, it might be the most important, is partnering for impact. Like I've said it several times in the talk today, Syngenta is, we pride ourselves in helping farmers maximize their yield. This is where we think we're very good, whether it's bringing strong seed and genetics, or maybe it's controlling pests in a more efficient and profitable way. But this is where we're strong. We're not experts in all areas. So there are other groups that maybe have a better understanding of markets, or maybe have a better understanding of conservation. How can we partner with people that are experts in their own area to assure that as a solo company, we could move ahead at a certain pace, but how can we speed up that process by partnering with the right people? So I won't read this whole slide to you, but I want to let you know that it's not just lip service behind these 4 commitments that we've put forward. We have very tangible targets around each one that we're targeting. And I will just call out a couple of these to give you a flavor of what it looks like at a global scale. So accelerating innovation for farmers and nature, the one that tends to get most people's ears is that the company did directly invest $2 billion over that 2020 to 2025 period, and made it clear that it wasn't just for ag innovation, it was for sustainable ag innovation. How can we create new breakthroughs that not only bring farmers better productivity, but help assure a good and safe environment, and et cetera. In the middle one, striving for carbon neutral ag. I mentioned we were trying to reduce our own footprint, which we are. We have a direct target of decreasing our carbon intensity by 50% by 2030. And we also want to make sure that we're able to help producers, those farmers in the field all over the world, the ability to measure their footprint, whether it's at the field level or the farm level, and understand how that comes into play as they market their goods and their bushels. We want to make people stay healthy. We always have a zero incident goal within the company, and we're measured against that, and we take that very serious. Actually, every meeting we have starts with a safety talk, and I believe that's the same in Brazil. It's not just the United States, but we also continue to train the people using our products to assure that we're getting a safe usage of those things. Lastly, I want to call out Partners for Impact. So Partnering for Impact is on the bottom for a reason. It's a strong, sturdy foundation for the way Syngenta sees itself working in the future moving forward. So how can we continually build cohesive partnerships with people that can strengthen our farmers at where they are, right? And how can we make sure that anything that is being launched new has that in mind? So bringing partners together will continually be the foundation, the ground piece of our good growth plan. Anything to add, Corey?
I think you covered it there.
Okay, I don't want to take away all the time.
Right.
It's a bad habit. So, like I mentioned, we have specific targets. We have benchmarks aligned to those targets, and we also want to call out that these aren't just things that Syngenta created. We're actually aligned with the transparency that they deserve and the accountability that we need to bring them forward. So Our carbon intensity commitments that are put in place by Syngenta are actually being validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative. And so this is being measured every year, and it shows up in our ESG report if you ever download that. It's on our website. We're also members of the Cool Farm Alliance, which is a globally recognized greenhouse gas measurement certification body, and also Field to Market, which is, I know, a North American sustainability standards body. But both of those help us measure greenhouse gas emissions on the farm, and we have the ability to not only coach farmers how to do it, help them directly if that's what they choose to help tell their sustainability story to their partners. And all of this is being measured and reported out in our ESG report if you download that. So to end, I guess it's not completely the end, but we're getting close. We did want to give just a handful of high-level examples of the Good Growth Plan, working with farmers and partnering with key influencers globally to help create better outcomes for not only that farmer and his markets, but also the overall challenges of sustainability as we discuss them. So the first one I wanted to call out was Solidaridad. Solidaridad is a multinational NGO, a non-governmental organization, and what some of their key mission is really around empowering smallholders and assuring that not only do they have viable active markets to participate in, they also get access to cutting edge technology, innovation. And so we've actually partnered with Solidaridad worldwide to help promote those needs of the smallholders. And we do this by trainings, making sure that we're giving these people opportunities to learn, giving them opportunities to access new technologies that may not be available to them, and also making sure that they have access to unique value chain partners as well. The next example that we wanted to call out was something called Reverte. So Reverte is all about a keen focus on land degradation. How can we possibly who could we possibly work with to improve the land, regenerate it, and make it viable and useful again for the people needing to farm it? So Reverte is a project that is based in Brazil, and it is all around improving the productivity of degraded farmland in the area. So some of the key things to call out here are, it was a big investment in soy and corn seed, specifically targeting seed that can work in poor soils. We had a targeted goal of 1 million hectare of degraded soil to be regenerated in the 5-year window that we called out, of which 200,000 hectare of the Cerrado biome fits within that number as well. I want to also call out some of the unique partners. The Nature Conservancy you'll see on several of these slides, but they are the most unique partner on a global scale that we could engage, because one of their biggest key pieces in their initiatives is efficient use of water. They're keenly targeted in on that 70% of fresh water that is being used by agriculture. And if they want to talk water, they need to partner. I shouldn't say they need to. They want to partner with someone like Syngenta to help promote sound conservation, protecting the water for not only those farmers, but for the people around the farms. And it leads to some really good partnerships, because we all bring our expertise in our own areas, and hopefully the overall ecosystem of that marketplace is improving. The last example that we wanted to share with you today is something called Enogen Feed. And I might give a high level touch to this, but I know Corey knows it a little better than me. But Enogen Feed is actually a focus on improving the sustainability of animal protein production. So specifically, Enogen is a type of seed corn, but it's not your usual type of seed corn that a farmer would grow. This actually has a gene in it called corn amylase. So it's actually not a gene, sorry, an enzyme. This is an enzyme that's built within the kernel of seed, and it helps break down the starchy material of that kernel in a way that allows animals to better digest it, and through that better digestion, it improves their ability to maximize the feed that they are eating. And this is actually a product that was designed for the ethanol markets because they need enzymes, especially like a dry grind ethanol facility. They bring in Enogen to help increase the viscosity of the throughput, which it does. It does that quite well. And as we did more studies with it, we found out that improved viscosity at the ethanol facility did a similar had a similar approach when we fed it to dairy and beef cattle. And we're looking at other types of ruminants as well, but a really interesting way to focus on sustainability across the broader value chain. Corey, I'll hand that one over to you to maybe go a little deeper.
Sure. I think one thing to consider as well is when we look at the ethanol market, one of the main enzymes that has to be added to corn for ethanol production is p-alpha amylase. That's what we have in what we've engineered into the Enogen seed there. So what that allows us to do is offer growers a premium on their corn bushels that are delivered to participating ethanol plants. And when we think about that in a sustainable context, essentially all that p-alpha amylase that is not needed now represents diesel fuel, represents transportation costs for that p-alpha amylase in tanker trucks to get delivered to the ethanol plant. So sometimes the lack of additional products necessary is what we're really aiming for. So by keeping that that enzyme in the seed, we really remove that step from the ethanol production and make it that much more sustainable.
So with that, we've shared with you today a view of Syngenta and who we are. We've tried to hone in on some of the bigger challenges that agriculture is facing when it comes to our planet and climate change and sustainability. We dove into Syngenta's good growth plan, not only the history of it, but just to give you some examples of where we see it going. But with that, that's what we had prepared. Gabriella, I'm not sure if you wanted us to take a question or two, but we're really appreciative that you let us come in and speak to Syngenta Group, to a little bit about Brazil and a little bit about how Syngenta is supporting sustainability in agriculture.
Thank you so much, guys. We're really, really great. We love it, I'm sure. I think if anyone has any questions, you can do it, guys. I don't know, but I think you can see in the right in your screen. Yes, there is a chat where you can see what people say from YouTube.
Oh, okay.
We can wait a few minutes if anyone.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, feel free to ask all the difficult questions because Corey promised me he would answer them.
There you go.
And any easy ones he'd hand to me. So
I'll read them out first. So the first question here, do you think it's important that other companies think just like you said that Syngenta thinks, doing projects, providing uh, I would say conscient or being cognizant of improving sustainability. I think it's paramount. I think until people prioritize sustainability, it becomes a word that people are scared to mention. You know, um, it gets to be a very vilified term in some circles when really every grower is already doing this. Most good growers, most growers that have some staying power in agriculture and are going to continue farming are progressive. Um, Change is something we've had to adapt to, and I think sustainability is representative of that change in agriculture as well. So I think companies like Syngenta, anything we can do to march that flag forward and assist growers in their progression on their farm is paramount. So
And the one thing I would add, Corey and I didn't talk about it too much today, but the importance of the importance of data in agriculture is going to continue to grow. I don't see us using less data in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. It will be more data because of that transparency and the need to know. But I think progressive farmers and companies will learn how to best utilize that data, because today we're just trying to capture a lot of everything and we don't always hone in on what is really important, but we're starting to see that flush itself out, and it's going to continue to grow.
I would agree. The second question there is, as a company that adopts sustainable practices, how does Syngenta view the role of companies that still resist adopting those practices? Um, I would call that the iPhone versus flip phone situation. Um, at some point, change is problematic for everybody, but there are fantastic things that can happen when you embrace it. There's cutting edge technologies and things can progress when you stop uh, when you stop really bringing in those changes, you start getting stagnant, right? When we think about chemical companies, we are constantly evolving. We are constantly pushing the envelope and trying to move forward and bring new tools to growers. So when we stop trying to evolve in certain aspects, really we just get stuck in the mud. So I think it's one of those things. The entire field of agriculture is pushing towards sustainability and helping growers be more sustainable. And I think companies that resist that are going to be left behind.
Yeah, I think you answered that pretty well. I'll read the next question.
Sure.
All the practices that you talked about for sustainable agriculture increase biodiversity and abundance of microorganisms in the soil. Are you working with soil microbiology? So the easy answer is yes, but not just working with, we're actually investing in this space. I don't know about Latin America, but I do know in North America, we have a soil science team that has been organized and is moving forward, trying to get a better understanding of how our products work within those different soil practices. And we're also trying to dive deeper into the understanding of that biome you're talking about, what's occurring below the soil. I think when you see less tillage, right, whether it's reduced or no till, we do see a more active soil biome. And you're seeing a lot of investment, not just in the understanding, but whether it's biologicals, how can biologicals help promote good, clean soil health at the same time letting the plants not be pulled backwards, mind you, by something that could also be in the soil. It's a tricky space, but Syngenta is actively investing in that, and it is a global initiative.
I would back that up and also say there's several different aspects of soil microbiology. One is looking at how our products and applications affect the soil microbiome. Is it Is it a positive impact? Is it a negative impact? And then another piece of that too is looking at, are there biologicals or anything else we can apply that increase the the number of fauna in the microbiome, as well as positive fauna within the microbiome, and are we able to influence that to a degree and really push that forward? There's a lot of studies being done on that right now, and they're all long-term studies, which I think is what makes that more problematic too. Most times you can run a field plot or a field trial, and after a couple months you'll have some data. But with soil microbiome, it's everything is long-term, year after year after year, compare result projects. Reading the next question here, I saw that you work in regenerative agriculture. How would you recover arid and semi-arid soils where there's little rain and no water, or contaminated or degraded soils, or does that have its limits? I would say at the end of the day, there's a lot of different ways to regenerate soil. There's a lot of ways to help farms recover. It really depends on what was cropped, what was the crop mix, what state is the soil in currently, uh, and then what practices can you do to try and breathe life back into the soil. So when we think of fertilizer and everything else, certain crops are going to they're going to add to that overall nutrition in the soil. They're going to add OM content. Other crops are going to absolutely zap that out. And if you were to crop and crop and crop without a rotation, obviously that's going to be worse than if you have good practices. But again, in some soil types, based on CEC or the capacity of the soil to be able to hold on to those nutrients, it might be more problematic to try and revive them. I would also add, at some point, if you get to contaminated soils, that's a bit of a different situation. A lot of the time there's remediation that has to happen before you can work on building up that soil profile again. But I would say in the more standard process here, most of the time when we're looking at reclaimed agricultural fields or freshly cleared ground, just starting to crop it and then working through on a good cover crop system is going to help a lot, and it's going to maintain moisture within that soil profile, as well as providing organic matter that's going to really improve that microbiome.
That was a really thorough answer. The thing I would say is it is complex, right? There's going to be varying levels of contamination, degradation, etc. There's some things we can do. Like, we have some innovative technology. I think of like drought resistant seed. So maybe there's a way to at least try to grow a crop with minimum amount of water or whatnot. But when things are, if it's too intense and too complex, that might not be the best place to put our resources, where we might have an area to get it back into a working productive farm in a shorter time frame. Because sometimes time heals these things. Sometimes bad rotation is a serious problem, and you can't always do a quick fix with technology. It needs to take time.
Yeah, I think
Very
it's
true.
that, guys. I think no one make any more questions. Thank you so much for your time, your presence, your knowledge was really, really great. Thank you.
Thank you
You
for
are
having
very
me.
welcome. Thanks for having us in.
I'm gonna take you off, okay?
Awesome. Thanks.
Fair enough.
Bye. So that was it, guys. I just sent the last attendance list is already in the chat, so you can sign your name. And thank you for your present. That's it. See you in our next event. Thank you.